Ethan stood at the edge of the massive docking bay, his human eyes tracing the sharp lines and glowing edges of the alien fleet that stretched across the horizon. These ships were unlike anything humans had built, sleek, polished, and alive with energy circuits that pulsed with an almost sentient rhythm. He had spent years learning how to maintain human craft, but this was a different level entirely. The alien technology required precision, patience, and a respect for a logic he barely understood. Today, his task was unusual. Highly unusual. He had been summoned personally to repair the personal armor of Queen Lysara, ruler of one of the most powerful alien empires in known space. Not even the most senior alien engineers were allowed such close contact with the Queen. Humans, even those like Ethan with a reputation for skill, were rarely trusted in her presence. Yet here he was, standing before the tall, curving doorway that led to her private chambers. His hands twitched slightly at his sides. He had read the protocols a dozen times, memorized the ways one should behave, the ways one should speak, even the way one should breathe in her presence. But no preparation could erase the nervous thrill that ran through him. He had been chosen for his skills, yes, but also for his composure, and he hoped he would not disappoint. A soft hiss echoed through the chamber as the door slid open. Inside, the Queen's armor rested on a pedestal, a full-body suit of shining metal interlaced with circuits that shimmered with blue energy. Even at a distance, it radiated power and authority. Ethan approached carefully, his hands raised slightly to indicate he meant no harm. He studied the damage, scratches along the chest plate, minor fractures near the energy conduits, and small dents from what must have been a recent skirmish. He knelt beside the armor, pulling out his toolkit. Tiny drones hovered around him automatically, scanning his movements and offering data in real time. "Focus," he whispered to himself. "Just repair the armor. Don't think about the Queen." A sound behind him made him stiffen. The air seemed to shift, heavy with presence. Ethan turned slowly. Queen Lysara had entered. She was taller than he expected, her posture perfect, her aura commanding. Her skin shimmered faintly under the chamber lights, and her eyes, bright with intelligence and curiosity, regarded him carefully. Ethan swallowed hard. "Your Majesty," he said, bowing slightly as etiquette demanded. "I am honored to be here." Lysara did not respond immediately. She simply watched him, her gaze assessing, measuring, almost as if she were seeing into his very thoughts. Ethan felt his confidence waver for a moment, but he steadied himself. He had worked with complex machines before, and this armor, no matter how alien, was still a mechanism that could be understood. "Begin," she said finally, her voice smooth and soft, yet carrying an authority that made every syllable feel weighted. "And be careful. This is my personal armor, not just a uniform." Ethan nodded and set to work. His hands moved carefully, lifting the damaged chest plate and examining the energy circuits embedded within. They were delicate, intricate, almost alive. He traced the conduits with his fingers, feeling the faint hum of energy beneath his touch. Despite the fear he felt, a strange calm settled over him. The work itself was familiar, a challenge that required all his attention. Hours passed. Ethan adjusted tiny energy nodes, resoldered fractured circuits, and polished the metal to restore its reflective brilliance. The armor seemed to respond to him, glowing brighter where he applied careful pressure, the circuits flowing smoothly as if acknowledging his skill. Queen Lysara remained nearby, silent at first. She moved with quiet grace, studying him without interrupting, her presence both intimidating and strangely reassuring. Occasionally she leaned slightly closer, inspecting his technique. Ethan felt his heart race whenever she did. Her closeness was not threatening, but it was intensely personal, a rare honor for a human in her chambers. "Careful with this section," she said softly at one point, pointing to a fine network of energy threads along the chest plate. One wrong move and the modulation system could destabilize. Ethan nodded, appreciating her guidance. He hadn't expected her to speak, and yet, hearing her voice was oddly comforting. "Understood, Your Majesty. I'll be precise." Time seemed to stretch in the quiet chamber. The hum of the armor, the subtle beeps of the drones, and the soft whispers of the Queen's instructions filled the space. Ethan noticed details he might have missed before. The way the energy threads shifted color slightly when stressed. The way the armor's surface seemed to flex subtly under his fingers. The faint scent of the chamber, a mixture of alien herbs and metallic polish. Then something unexpected happened. Lysara leaned closer than before, her eyes meeting his directly. Her voice was lower now, almost a whisper. "Don't be shy, human." Ethan froze, his hands hovering over the armor. The words were simple, but their meaning was layered. It was not a command nor a test. It was a recognition of him, his skill, his courage, his presence. A human had never been spoken to this way by a queen before, and Ethan realized that the responsibility he carried was matched by the trust she was placing in him. He exhaled slowly, regaining focus. I won't fail you," he said quietly. The queen's eyes flicked toward the armor and then back to him, and for a fleeting moment he saw what seemed like approval, pride, even. He returned to his work, his hands steady now, guided by a combination of training, instinct, and the strange encouragement he felt from her presence. As he worked, he noticed the subtle ways her armor seemed to react to his touch. Small energy nodes pulsed in rhythm with his movements, the circuits flowing smoother than ever before. It was as if the armor itself recognized the care he was giving it. Hours passed, though Ethan lost track of time. He cleaned, adjusted, and realigned the plates, ensuring that every circuit was flawless. When he finally stepped back to inspect his work, the armor shimmered with restored strength. It looked not just repaired, but improved, the energy systems humming in perfect synchronization. Lysara approached, her movements silent and deliberate. She reached out and touched a panel on her chest plate, activating the full suit. The circuits glowed, energy flowed, and the armor responded exactly as it should. She turned to him, her expression unreadable but her eyes bright. "You have done well, human," she said. "Few could have handled this with such care and precision." Ethan felt a swell of relief and pride. "Thank you, Your Majesty. It was an honor." She tilted her head slightly, studying him again. "You are different from other humans," she murmured. "Calm, precise, courageous. Perhaps this will not be the last time you assist me directly." Ethan's heart raced. The words implied trust, yes, but something more. A potential for a bond that transcended the normal human-alien dynamic. He realized with a mixture of excitement and nervousness that his life on this distant planet had just changed in ways he could not yet fully understand. As he packed his tools, Lysara stepped closer again. "Rest now, human," she said softly. "Tomorrow we begin testing the armor's enhanced systems. I will need you by my side." Ethan nodded, barely believing what he was hearing. "I will be ready, Your Majesty." As he left the chamber, he took one last look at the Queen. Her presence was still commanding, her eyes still bright with curiosity and intelligence. But for the first time, he felt that humans, through courage, skill, and honesty, could earn not just respect but trust, even from the most powerful beings in the galaxy. The docking bay was quiet as he walked back to his quarters. The stars outside the window sparkled like distant promises, and Ethan felt a strange thrill. His hands still tingled from the delicate work, and his mind raced with possibilities. One thing was certain: this was only the beginning, and the journey he had embarked upon would test not only his skill as an engineer, but the courage and ingenuity that made him human. Tonight, he had repaired armor. Tomorrow he might help shape the future of interstellar relations itself. The next morning, Ethan arrived early at the Queen's chamber. The corridors of the palace were quiet, polished to a reflective shine that echoed every footstep. Guards stationed along the walls nodded briefly at him, more in acknowledgement of his presence than any formal greeting. No human had ever been allowed such proximity to the Queen before, and though Ethan tried to appear calm, his heart still thumped with anticipation. Inside the chamber, Queen Lysara awaited him. She was already in her armor, the repaired chest plate gleaming under the soft lights. The energy circuits along her shoulders and arms pulsed gently, a subtle sign of readiness. She did not speak at first. Instead, she observed him as he entered. "You are early," she said finally, her voice soft but carrying authority. "I like that in a human." Ethan bowed slightly. "I prefer to be ready before work begins, Your Majesty." Her eyes glimmered with curiosity. "Humans are persistent. I wonder if this persistence can match their skill." He stepped closer to the armor display, preparing his tools. Today, he would test the repaired systems under controlled conditions. The armor was more than protective plating. It was a sophisticated interface that amplified the wearer's strength, reflexes, and strategic awareness. If any flaw remained, it could be catastrophic in battle. "Shall we begin?" he asked. Lysera nodded. She gestured for him to approach. "Follow my instructions carefully. The circuits are sensitive." Ethan's hands moved with precision. He checked each joint, adjusting energy nodes and recalibrating the modulation system. He noticed subtle responses from the armor, tiny vibrations, faint glows, reacting to his touch in ways that suggested near sentience. He marveled at the technology, realizing that Lysera herself had likely contributed to its design. Few engineers in the galaxy understood these systems as she did. "Your touch is delicate," Lysera said quietly, stepping closer. Her presence was constant, yet she allowed him space to work. Most humans would break the circuits without knowing it. Ethan glanced at her, surprised. Her observation was precise and personal. "I have had experience with delicate machines, Your Majesty. I treat them with respect and they respond in kind." A faint smile appeared on her face, almost imperceptible. "Respect. Humans understand respect differently. Perhaps this is why I allowed you here." He returned his attention to the armor. One of the shoulder conduits was still slightly misaligned, a minor error that could have caused energy leakage in combat. He adjusted it carefully, noting how the armor hummed in approval. "You see?" Lysera said softly, almost teasingly. "Even the armor appreciates your touch," Ethan swallowed. Her words carried an undertone of trust he was not used to receiving from anyone, let alone a queen. He focused harder, ensuring that every panel, every node, every connection was perfect. Hours passed in quiet concentration. Occasionally, Lysera spoke, offering insight into the armor's responses. She explained that some energy conduits were linked to her neural interface, making the suit highly reactive to thought patterns. Ethan listened intently, absorbing knowledge that went far beyond standard engineering. He realized that human ingenuity, combined with careful observation, allowed him to understand systems even the aliens considered highly advanced. At one point, he paused, noticing a faint misalignment in the chest plate's core matrix. It was subtle, almost invisible, but Ethan's experience told him it could cause instability under heavy stress. He hesitated, considering whether to mention it. Most engineers might ignore minor flaws to avoid offending the Queen, but Ethan knew honesty was part of his responsibility. "Your Majesty," he said carefully, "there is a minor issue in the chest matrix. It is small, but if not corrected, it could reduce the armor's efficiency in battle." Lysera's eyes narrowed slightly, studying him. Most humans would remain silent in fear. "You choose truth over caution. Interesting." Ethan held his ground. "I cannot compromise the integrity of your armor, Your Majesty." "Precision is everything." A faint smile crossed her lips. She leaned slightly closer, close enough for him to feel her presence fully. "Humans are bold," she whispered. "You speak truth where others would bend, that is admirable." The Queen's words, though quiet, filled Ethan with both pride and tension. He realized that their interaction was more than professional. It was a test of character. She was measuring not only his skill but his courage, his honesty, and his ability to act under pressure. Encouraged, Ethan carefully adjusted the matrix, reconnecting tiny conduits and ensuring the flow of energy was stable. The armor glowed brighter, signaling perfect synchronization. He exhaled softly, feeling relief wash over him. Lysera observed the result, stepping back slightly. "Well done, human. You have corrected what few would dare to notice. Your skill, it is unusual among your kind." Ethan felt his cheeks warm slightly. Compliments from a queen were rare in any form, and this was no ordinary praise. It acknowledged his intellect, his precision, and his courage. "Thank you, Your Majesty," he said quietly. She tilted her head, her gaze assessing him. "Tell me, human, do you understand why I allowed you such access? Few outsiders are ever permitted this level of proximity." Ethan considered her question carefully. "I believe it is because you trust me, Your Majesty, and because you recognize that my skill can benefit you." Her eyes softened slightly as if she appreciated his answer. "Correct. Yet it is also because you have qualities beyond skill. Observation, courage, honesty. These are traits rare in any being." He looked down briefly, unsure how to respond. He had trained for years to repair complex systems, but this recognition was unexpected. "I am honored to serve, Your Majesty," he said sincerely. The Queen nodded and stepped even closer. The air seemed to shift slightly around her, charged with quiet authority and an unspoken energy that made the chamber feel alive. She examined the armor's chest plate, now fully repaired, and then glanced at Ethan with a subtle intensity. "Your hands are careful, precise," she said softly. "I wonder if all humans could handle such responsibility." Ethan's heart raced at the suggestion. The Queen's tone was not merely observation. It carried a hint of curiosity, perhaps even admiration. "I cannot speak for all humans, Your Majesty," he replied honestly. "But I try to do my best in every task. That is what I can offer." Lysara's eyes seemed to hold his gaze a moment longer than expected. "Your dedication, it is rare. Few beings act with such combination of skill and integrity. I will remember this, human." Ethan felt a strange mix of pride and nervousness. Being noticed by the Queen in such a personal way was both intimidating and encouraging. He realized that the work he had begun was more than just repairing armor. It was a test of trust, character, and understanding. As he finished checking the final systems, Lysara finally stepped back, giving him space. She activated the armor fully, moving her arms and shoulders fluidly. The energy circuits glowed with perfect synchronization, responding instantly to her thoughts and motions. "Excellent," she said, her voice steady but warm. "The armor performs flawlessly. You have exceeded expectations, human." Ethan nodded, carefully packing his tools. "It is an honor to be of service, Your Majesty." "The armor is remarkable. It responds almost as if it is alive." The Queen's lips curved into a faint smile. "It is, in a way. It is connected to my mind, my thoughts, my intentions. Few can handle such responsibility without error. You have done well." For a long moment the chamber was quiet except for the soft hum of the armor. Ethan felt the weight of what he had accomplished. Not only had he repaired one of the most advanced armors in the galaxy, but he had earned the quiet trust and acknowledgement of a queen, a feat no human had achieved before. Finally, Lysara spoke again, her voice soft but firm. "Tomorrow we will begin exercises to test the armor's enhanced systems in simulated combat. I expect you to assist me directly. Your skill and your mind will be essential." Ethan nodded, swallowing his nervous excitement. "I will be ready, Your Majesty." As he left the chamber, he took a moment to glance back. Queen Lysara stood poised and regal, her presence commanding yet filled with a subtle curiosity that no human had ever seen. Ethan realized that their interaction was only the beginning. The Queen had noticed his skill, his courage and his integrity, and in return, he had gained a rare opportunity, a chance to bridge the gap between human ingenuity and alien authority. The corridors of the palace seemed to stretch endlessly as he walked back to his quarters. Stars glittered faintly through the vast windows, and Ethan felt a sense of purpose he had never experienced before. He had repaired armor today, yes, but tomorrow he would play a part in a greater story, one where humans might prove their worth not just through machines and technology, but through courage, intelligence, and character. Tonight, he allowed himself a small moment of rest, knowing that tomorrow would test not only his hands but his mind, and perhaps even his understanding of trust, honor, and what it meant to be human in a galaxy full of wonders. The following day, Ethan returned to the Queen's chamber earlier than before. The halls of the palace seemed quieter now, almost hushed, as though the building itself anticipated the work ahead. The glow from the energy conduits along the walls reflected in his eyes, and for a moment, he paused to take a deep breath. Today was not only about repairing armor, it was about testing it under simulated conditions. Queen Lysara was already present, standing beside a holographic display that projected the schematics of her armor. Her posture was flawless, and her gaze, intense yet calm, was fixed on the glowing images. She turned her eyes to Ethan as he entered. "Early again," she said, her voice carrying subtle approval. "I see humans do not waste time, that is, promising." Ethan inclined his head. "I prefer to be ready, Your Majesty. Preparation is part of success." She studied him carefully, as though evaluating the weight behind his words. "Your dedication is unusual among your kind," she remarked softly. "Most humans rush into tasks without thought. You consider, observe, and act." Ethan felt a small flicker of pride but remained focused.
"I believe careful observation prevents mistakes, Your Majesty."
"Even small errors can become dangerous in complex systems." "True," Lysara said, almost to herself. Then turning to him, she added, "Today we will test the armor's systems. Your role is crucial. Observe the feedback, adjust what is necessary, and ensure it functions perfectly." Ethan stepped closer to the chest plate. The circuits hummed faintly as if recognizing him again. He examined each node, each energy conduit, and each joint. Everything was intact, but the Queen's voice guided him to specific areas where she wished to observe his technique. "Focus on the modulation circuits here," she instructed, pointing to a network across the shoulder. "These are sensitive to motion and mental input. Any misalignment and the suit's responsiveness will be reduced." Ethan nodded and carefully adjusted the nodes. As he worked, Lysara observed closely, leaning slightly toward him, though always keeping her regal composure. There was a subtle tension in the air, intense yet not uncomfortable. He felt a mixture of pride, nervousness, and fascination at her trust in him. "You handle the armor well," she said softly, almost conversationally. "It reacts to your touch differently than it did before." Almost alive, Ethan looked up, meeting her gaze. "It does seem to respond to care, Your Majesty. I treat it with patience and respect, and it reacts in kind." Lysara's lips curved into a faint, approving smile. "Perhaps that is why I allowed a human such access. Your hands are capable, and your mind is precise." As he continued his adjustments, she stepped even closer, watching the delicate circuits under his fingertips. "Careful with the chest matrix," she murmured. "One wrong move and the system could destabilize. You are human. Do you understand the risks?" Ethan's hands did not falter. "I understand, Your Majesty. I will be precise." The Queen's eyes studied him closely, a faint glow of curiosity in them. "Your courage. It is unusual. Most beings would hesitate here. You do not." Ethan paused, realizing the weight of her observation. It was not merely about his hands or skill, it was about his character. He took a deep breath and replied, "I cannot compromise my responsibility, Your Majesty. Courage is necessary when duty requires it." Lysara's gaze softened, almost imperceptibly, and she leaned slightly closer, whispering just above the hum of the armor, "Humans, you are different from what I expected." Ethan's heart raced. Her words were not merely approval, they carried curiosity, admiration, and a subtle warmth. Yet he kept his focus, adjusting the circuits and ensuring that every connection was stable. Hours passed as he continued testing the armor under simulated stress. Holographic projections displayed imaginary combat scenarios, projecting the Queen's reflexes and movements in real time. Ethan monitored energy flows, recalibrated nodes, and synchronized the suit's responses to her neural input. Each adjustment made the armor perform more fluidly, more intuitively. During a pause in the simulations, Lysara observed him again. "You are careful, patient, and honest. Few beings could maintain such composure under pressure. Humans, I am beginning to understand why you survive where others fail." Ethan looked up, slightly taken aback. "I believe humans adapt because we must, Your Majesty. We observe, we learn, and we find solutions where others see only problems." A faint smile appeared on her face, almost playful. "Perhaps this is why I allowed you here, human. I wish to see what your kind is truly capable of, beyond the confines of expectation." Ethan felt both honored and nervous. Being trusted to handle the Queen's personal armor was one thing. Being studied, measured, and admired for his mind and character was something entirely new. Yet he realized that the moment called for focus as much as courage. During the next simulation, Ethan noticed a minor irregularity in the energy conduits along the chest plate. The fluctuation was subtle, almost invisible, but his training told him it could disrupt the armor's responsiveness in prolonged combat. He hesitated, considering whether to mention it. Most beings might ignore such small issues to avoid angering the Queen, but Ethan had learned the value of honesty. "Your Majesty," he said carefully, "there is a slight fluctuation in the chest conduits. It is minor, but it may affect the armor's responsiveness if not corrected." Lysara's eyes narrowed slightly. She studied him, assessing not only his skill but his courage and integrity. Most humans would remain silent out of fear. "You speak truth despite risk. That is commendable." Ethan held his gaze. "I cannot compromise the integrity of your armor, Your Majesty. Precision must be absolute." The Queen leaned closer, her voice lowering to a soft whisper. "You are bold, human. Few can act with such combination of skill and honesty. I will remember this." Encouraged, Ethan carefully adjusted the circuits, stabilizing the fluctuation. The armor responded instantly. the energy flow smooth and precise. Lysara activated the full suit, moving through a series of test motions. Her movements were flawless, the armor reacting to her thoughts and motions with perfect synchronization. "Excellent," she said, her voice calm but warm. "You have corrected what few would even notice. Your skill and your integrity are remarkable." Ethan nodded, carefully packing his tools. "Thank you, Your Majesty. It is an honor to serve." The Queen stepped back slightly, her gaze lingering on him. "You are unusual, human. Calm, precise, courageous. You do not merely repair machines. You understand them. And you understand responsibility." Ethan felt a mixture of pride and humility. The Queen's acknowledgement was more than he had ever expected. It was not just about the armor. It was about him, his mind, his courage, and his character as a human being. "Tomorrow," Lysara said softly, "we will begin live simulations. Your skill will be tested further. I trust you will be ready." "I will be ready, Your Majesty," he replied. As Ethan left the chamber, he reflected on the events of the day. He had not only repaired armor, but had earned the Queen's trust and admiration. The bond between human and alien, so rare in history, was beginning to take shape. He realized that humans could prove their worth not merely through strength or technology, but through courage, honesty, and ingenuity. Walking back through the quiet corridors, he looked out at the stars beyond the palace windows. Each twinkle seemed to promise new challenges and new opportunities. Tomorrow would test him further, but tonight he allowed himself a small measure of satisfaction. He had succeeded where few humans could even approach success, and he had earned a place, not just as a servant of technology, but as a trusted ally of the most powerful queen in the galaxy. For the first time, Ethan understood that being human was not a limitation. It was an advantage. Human ingenuity, patience, and courage could shine even among beings far stronger, faster, and more advanced. And in that understanding, he felt a growing sense of purpose. Tonight he would rest. Tomorrow he would face new challenges. But one thing was certain. His journey with Queen Lysara had only just begun, and the galaxy itself seemed to shift subtly, acknowledging that humans, through skill, courage, and heart, were capable of greatness beyond expectation. The day after the successful simulation, Ethan returned to the Queen's chamber with a mix of determination and nervous anticipation. Today would be different. The simulations had shown that the armor worked perfectly under controlled conditions, but real-life scenarios were never so simple. The Queen herself had mentioned live trials, and Ethan understood that any flaw overlooked could have serious consequences. As he entered the chamber, Queen Lysara was already preparing the holographic combat arena. Her armor shimmered in the soft light, every circuit glowing in perfect alignment. She turned to Ethan, her eyes sharp, her expression calm yet probing. "Are you ready, human?" she asked. Ethan nodded. "I am prepared, Your Majesty. I will do everything to ensure the armor functions flawlessly." She studied him for a long moment, as though assessing the weight behind his words. "Good. Today your skill and judgment will be tested more than before. Watch carefully, adjust quickly, and trust your instincts." Ethan stepped closer to the armor. He ran his hands along the panels, checking each joint and conduit one last time. Then, as he was about to step back, he noticed a subtle anomaly in the chest plate's energy core, a fluctuation so faint that it could be easily overlooked. His heart skipped a beat. He knew that if this small irregularity persisted during a real trial, it could reduce the armor's responsiveness or, worse, fail entirely under stress. He hesitated, knowing that pointing out flaws to the Queen carried risk. Many humans would have remained silent to avoid offending her, but Ethan had learned that honesty, courage, and integrity were essential, even in the presence of royalty. "Your Majesty," he said carefully, drawing her attention to the chest core, "I believe there is a minor flaw in the energy modulation system. It is subtle, but if not corrected, it may reduce the armor's efficiency in live combat." The Queen's eyes narrowed slightly, and she stepped closer. Ethan felt the intensity of her gaze, as if she were weighing his words against 1,000 possibilities. Most humans would have ignored this out of fear or hesitation. "You would choose truth," she said softly. "Interesting. Brave, perhaps." Ethan met her gaze steadily. "I cannot compromise the integrity of your armor, Your Majesty. Precision and safety must come first." Lysara studied him for a long moment. Then, almost imperceptibly, she leaned closer, her voice a whisper. Humans, you are unlike any I have encountered. You speak truth when it is hardest, yet act with skill beyond expectation. I will remember this. Encouraged by her acknowledgement, Ethan carefully examined the core, adjusting tiny conduits and recalibrating energy nodes. The fluctuation stabilized and the armor hummed with renewed strength. He exhaled slowly, feeling a mix of relief and pride. Excellent, Lysara said, activating the full suit. She moved through a series of test motions, her limbs flowing seamlessly, the circuits responding instantly to her thoughts. The adjustment is precise. The armor now functions perfectly. Your skill is remarkable. Ethan felt a warm rush of satisfaction, but he knew the day was far from over. The Queen had planned live trials, and he would need to remain vigilant. Follow me, she said, gesturing toward the holographic combat arena. Today we test strategy and responsiveness, not just mechanics. Observe closely. You will assist where needed, but remain alert. The scenarios will be challenging. The arena projected a vast battlefield filled with simulated opponents, energy hazards, and complex terrain. Ethan's role was to monitor the armor's response and advise the Queen on adjustments during the simulation. As Lysara moved, he tracked every energy pulse, every motion, and every neural response. Notice this pattern, he suggested softly, pointing to a section of the armor's circuitry that could react faster if recalibrated slightly. If you adjust the conduit here, it will increase reflex responsiveness by 10%. The Queen paused mid-motion, her eyes narrowing slightly as she assessed his suggestion. You are bold, human. Few would dare advise me directly during a simulation. Ethan's heart raced. Your Majesty, the armor's efficiency depends on accuracy and timing. I only wish to help ensure it functions optimally. A faint smile appeared on her lips. She made the adjustment and the armor responded instantly, movements flowing more naturally, reactions sharper, more precise. Impressive, she said. You understand the technology well, perhaps better than most of my own engineers. Ethan felt a surge of pride tempered by respect for the Queen. It is an honor to assist, Your Majesty. The simulation continued, more complex and demanding than before. Holographic enemies moved unpredictably, and the arena introduced energy traps that tested reflexes and strategy. Ethan watched every pulse, every response, and every feedback loop, ready to intervene if the armor faltered. Midway through, a particularly complex sequence caused a minor misalignment in the shoulder conduit. The energy output fluctuated briefly, enough to reduce the armor's responsiveness. Ethan acted instantly, instructing the Queen on the precise adjustment. She followed his advice without hesitation, and the suit's system stabilized immediately. You act with speed and precision, human, she said quietly afterward. Few beings could respond this quickly under pressure. Humans, I am beginning to understand why your kind survives against the odds. Ethan swallowed, feeling both nervous and proud. The Queen's admiration was clear, yet she maintained her regal composure. He realized that trust had grown between them, not just trust in skill, but trust in judgment, in character. As the final sequence of the simulation ended, Lysara deactivated the holographic arena and turned toward him. Today you have done more than monitor and adjust. You have proven your courage, your skill, and your insight. You are remarkable, human. Ethan bowed slightly. Thank you, Your Majesty. I only wish to serve with precision and honor. The Queen stepped closer, her gaze steady. Few humans act as you do. Calm, precise, courageous. You do not merely repair or adjust. You understand responsibility, duty, and consequences. That is rare, even among my own engineers. Ethan felt a strange warmth at her words. Her acknowledgement was not mere politeness, it was admiration, respect, and perhaps a quiet curiosity. He realized that the bond between them had deepened. It was no longer simply about armor. It was about trust, mutual recognition, and understanding. For a moment the chamber was quiet, except for the faint hum of the armor circuits. Ethan could see the subtle glow of the energy conduits, synchronized perfectly with the Queen's movements, a testament to his careful adjustments and unwavering attention. You have earned my trust, human, Lysara said softly. Not many outsiders would achieve this. Few could act with honesty, skill, and courage simultaneously. You have done more than repair armor. You have proven yourself capable of something greater. Ethan felt his chest tighten with pride. I am honored, Your Majesty. I will continue to serve with diligence and integrity. Lysara's gaze softened, her eyes reflecting a subtle warmth that few humans had ever seen. Tomorrow we face even greater challenges. The armor will be tested under live field conditions with unpredictable variables. I will need your skill, your judgment, and your courage. Are you prepared, human? I will be ready, Ethan replied firmly, though his heart raced with anticipation. The Queen nodded. Good. Your presence here is more valuable than I expected. You are not merely a technician, you are an ally. As Ethan left the chamber, he walked through the palace corridors with a renewed sense of purpose. Today had been a test of skill, courage, and insight. He had identified hidden flaws, made crucial adjustments, and earned the Queen's trust, not only in his hands but in his mind and character. Looking out at the stars beyond the palace windows, Ethan realized that the true test was not only of technology but of human qualities: honesty, courage, precision, and ingenuity. He felt a growing sense of pride and responsibility. Humans, he understood, could bridge gaps, inspire trust, and prove their worth even among the most advanced and powerful alien civilizations. Tonight, he would rest. Tomorrow, he would face the ultimate challenge: live field trials that could determine not only the armor's performance, but also the bond of trust between human and Queen. But he felt ready. He had proven that a human could act with precision, courage, and insight where others might falter. And for the first time, he understood that these qualities, uniquely human, were perhaps the greatest assets in the galaxy. The morning sun spilled its golden light across the palace as Ethan made his way to the Queen's chamber. Today was the culmination of weeks of preparation, repair, and testing. The live field trials awaited, and with them, the ultimate proof of the armor's power and of human skill and judgment. Queen Lysara was already present, standing in full armor, the energy circuits glowing steadily along her shoulders and chest. She turned to Ethan as he entered, her expression unreadable yet filled with quiet expectation. "Are you ready, human?" she asked. Ethan straightened, his hands steady despite the nervous energy in his chest. "I am ready, Your Majesty. I will do everything to ensure your armor performs at its peak." She studied him for a long moment. "You have earned my trust, human. Few outsiders would act with such precision, honesty, and courage. Today that trust will be tested, not only the armor but you." He nodded, understanding the weight of her words. Today would not be just about mechanics or technology. It would be about judgment, quick thinking, and the human qualities that the Queen had begun to recognize and value. The holographic combat arena had been replaced with a more advanced simulation system. Realistic environmental conditions, unpredictable opponents, and complex energy fields created a battlefield that demanded instinct, intellect, and perfect synchronization with the armor. Ethan observed the energy flows, neural interfaces, and movement patterns closely. "Focus on the chest matrix," he instructed softly. "The conduits are stable, but the core energy output could fluctuate if overstrained. Adjust these nodes during the trial if needed." Lysara nodded, her eyes focused on the battlefield. "Understood. I trust your judgment, human." The simulation began. Holographic enemies appeared from all directions, attacking with speed, precision, and unpredictability. Lysara moved fluidly, her armor responding instantly to her thoughts and reflexes. Ethan monitored the systems carefully, making subtle adjustments in real time. A particularly intense sequence caused a spike in the armor's energy flow. The chest plate glowed brighter, indicating a strain that could compromise response time. Ethan acted instantly, recalibrating the modulation nodes and instructing the Queen on precise adjustments. She followed his guidance without hesitation, her movements remaining fluid, graceful, and lethal. "Excellent," she said mid-motion, her voice calm but firm. "Your observation is precise. Few beings could respond so quickly under pressure. Humans, you are more capable than I expected." Ethan swallowed, his heart racing. Her trust was complete, yet the stakes were higher than ever. Every adjustment, every instruction had to be perfect. He focused, watching the energy conduits, monitoring the neural feedback and anticipating the Queen's next movements. The simulation escalated further. Energy barriers appeared unexpectedly, forcing rapid decisions and swift maneuvers. The Queen executed a series of complex movements, testing both the armor's limits and Ethan's ability to manage the systems in real time. "Adjust the shoulder node slightly to the left," Ethan called out. "It will stabilize the energy flow and improve reaction time by at least 15%. She responded immediately, the armor's circuits glowing in perfect harmony as the adjustment took effect. Her movements became faster, more precise, almost seamless. "You are remarkable human," Lysara said softly, almost breathlessly. "Few beings could act with such clarity and speed. Your mind, your instincts, they are invaluable." Ethan felt a rush of pride tempered by respect for the Queen. This was more than a simulation. It was a demonstration of human ingenuity, courage, and judgment in a world far beyond Earth. He realized that humans could succeed not by strength alone, but by intelligence, adaptability, and integrity. The final sequence approached. A massive holographic enemy appeared, moving unpredictably and emitting powerful energy blasts. Lysara's armor responded instantly, but the strain on the circuits was visible. Ethan acted decisively, recalibrating core energy nodes and stabilizing the chest matrix. "You can do this," he said quietly, more to himself than to her. "Trust your instincts. Trust the armor." The Queen executed a series of complex maneuvers, weaving between energy blasts, countering attacks, and striking with precision. The armor systems, guided by Ethan's adjustments and Lysara's skill, functioned flawlessly. The enemy was neutralized, and the simulation concluded successfully. Lysara deactivated the armor and stepped back, breathing lightly but steady. She turned to Ethan, her eyes reflecting a mix of admiration, relief, and subtle curiosity. "You have done it," she said softly. "Not just the armor, but the entire exercise. Your skill, your judgment, your courage. It has proven that humans are capable of far more than I imagined." Ethan bowed slightly. "It was an honor to assist, Your Majesty. The armor is incredible, but it is the Queen's skill and strategy that make it truly remarkable." She studied him for a long moment, her gaze intense, yet calm. "Few humans have earned my respect like you have. You are precise, courageous, and honest. You act without fear even when the stakes are high. You are extraordinary." Ethan felt a warmth in his chest at her words. This acknowledgement went beyond admiration. It was trust, respect, and a rare understanding between two beings from entirely different worlds. The Queen stepped closer, her presence commanding yet gentle. "Tomorrow we will begin preparations for live field deployment. The armor will face real challenges and your insight will be crucial. But today, you have proven that humans can act with skill, courage, and intelligence, even where others would fail." Ethan nodded, feeling a deep sense of purpose. "I will be ready, Your Majesty. I will continue to serve with diligence and integrity." For a long moment they stood in silence, the hum of the armor fading into the quiet of the chamber. Ethan realized that their relationship had evolved from technician and queen to allies who trusted each other implicitly. His skill, his judgment, and his courage had earned him a place few humans could ever attain. As he prepared to leave, Lysara spoke again, her voice soft but firm. "You have shown that humans are capable of more than strength or technology. Ingenuity, courage, and honesty, these are qualities that can match, even surpass, the most advanced civilizations. You embody what it means to be human." Ethan felt a swell of pride and humility. He understood that this was more than a professional achievement. He had proven the value of human qualities in a galaxy full of wonders and dangers. Walking through the palace corridors, he looked out at the stars. Each twinkle seemed to echo the possibilities ahead. Humans, he realized, were not limited by physical strength or alien technology. They thrived through ingenuity, courage, and an unyielding will. And he, standing as a representative of humanity, had demonstrated that truth. That evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Ethan allowed himself a moment of quiet reflection. The live field trials would come, and new challenges would test both his skill and his judgment. But for now, he felt a deep satisfaction. He had repaired the Queen's armor, tested it under the most demanding conditions, and earned her trust not through force but through intelligence, courage, and integrity. Queen Lysara's voice echoed softly in his memory. "You are extraordinary." Those words were more than praise. They were recognition of human potential, a validation that one being could bridge worlds with skill, honesty, and courage. Tonight, he would rest. Tomorrow, he would face new challenges, but he was no longer just a human engineer. He was a trusted ally of a queen, a representative of humanity's ingenuity, and a testament to what humans could achieve when they combined skill with heart. And for the first time, Ethan truly understood the meaning of being human, not just as a species, but as a force capable of extraordinary impact in a galaxy filled with wonders, danger, and opportunity. The stars outside the palace windows sparkled as if in acknowledgement, and Ethan felt a sense of pride, purpose, and anticipation for the adventures yet to come. Humans could survive, thrive, and excel, even among the most advanced and powerful beings. And he, standing at the heart of the Queen's trust, had proven it.